Rupert, welcome to Talent Matters.
Thank you very much, Dave. Lovely to be here.
Lovely to have you. Lovely to have you on. Let's see where we go with this one.
Yeah,
so we've been
could be a wild ride.
Could be. Well, let's hope so.
Yeah.
We were talking before about where this could go, so who knows where it may go. Let's see.
Yeah.
Strap in.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So Rupert from RMG Digital.
Yep.
Tell us about you, the business. Quick intro. Doesn't have to be War and Peace. Could be if you want. Whatever.
No, I'll give you the quick sort of highlights.
Yeah.
My career sort of timeline changes depending on which day of the week it is, but generally speaking, been in recruitment for circa 17 years now. Maybe touching on 18, I think, unfortunately, from the grey hairs on my head.
You've got some
yeah,
hairs on your head,
there are a few.
Yeah.
Well, I have the grey hairs though. I have the hairs.
The only hair I've got that grows is grey now. So
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Before that, I was doing bits and pieces. Went to uni, dropped out, and like most people, sort of fell into recruitment because I was doing door knocking for 12 months.
Brilliant.
Going around knocking on people's doors, doing a bit of chugging, so charity mugging.
Yeah. Some of the best sales training doing that, right?
Unbelievable sales training, 100% commission. So I remember going for the interview there, and they sort of said, like, yes, you've got the job. My naive sort of younger self said, what's the salary? And they're like, there isn't one. It's based on commission. I think you got £7 per sale, and you're expected to do 7 sales a day.
Yeah.
Which ended up being okay, but I got around to the second winter, and I was like, this is no good. Going around knocking on doors when it's cold and wet.
What was your first kind of experience? Was it they did any training, or did they just literally follow someone out and they just pushed you into?
They did training, but it was like, come in, here's the pitch.
Yeah.
This is what you're saying. Back then, there weren't so many rules and regulations, so it was kind of like make it up a bit as you go along.
Yeah.
Like the poor children, they're dying.
Yeah.
Can you help them?
Yeah.
Or I'm sure you know someone, like we've been talking to all your neighbours. So it taught me to lie from an early stage.
They've all committed.
Everyone's. We've been chatting to Jane down the road. She's got involved. Come and get involved. It's only £1 a week.
Yeah.
So all of that sort of stuff, which was, great training to go and learn a work ethic.
Yeah.
Give me some drive to go and do something, because I dropped out of uni. I didn't really have any other options at that time. Before I was doing that, I was working in Fat Face, selling clothes. Not that there's anything wrong with working in Fat Face, selling clothes.
Yeah.
People need to sell clothes. Does Fat Face still exist? I don't know.
I'm going to suggest that we're probably now too old to know if it does.
Probably. Yeah. We'll put that one aside.
I might have to edit that one.
Yeah. So I didn't really have many options, and then someone said to me at the time, there's this thing called recruitment. Have you ever thought about that? I don't even know what that is. And then I spoke to a rec.
There's loads of money in it. Easy money.
Told me £100,000 a year.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? I was like, oh yeah, great, £100,000 a year sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
I want my Aston Martin, and I want this that, and the other. And went and spoke to a few people. So there was a company called Timothy James Consulting that no longer exists, but was run by a chap called Chris O'Connell, which a lot of people will know him.
Yeah.
And then I spoke to Computer Futures and Progressive, all in Bristol.
So this is all around. We were talking before we started recording. You grew up around Reading.
I grew up in Reading. I was born in the Royal Berks.
Royal Berks, yeah.
Yeah. But then I got out and I moved back to Bristol. So I was at uni in Bristol. So then I went back to Bristol.
Yeah.
And was working in Bristol rather than in the Valley. So went and ended up, the Silicon Valley, the garden of the valley that is Reading. And then ended up getting a job with Progressive, so part of the S3 group.
Yeah.
Was there for a couple of years, got made redundant when we got to the 2008 crash. Took a month off, played some golf, got another job working for a company called Ashton Consulting, who were also Bristol-based, and the owner of Ashton Consulting was Pathway, another S3 company. So I've pretty much been ingrained in the S3 way of working throughout my career. Did very well with them as a contract consultant, so purely contract, and made quite a bit of money with Lloyd's Bank at the time, because they were recruiting contractors. They couldn't recruit permanent people. So sort of lucked out on that. Actually a really lucky story. There was someone who I was trying to get hold of time and time again, who I'd worked with before in my previous role. And I just couldn't get hold of him for love nor money. And I bumped into him at the gym.
Yeah.
And in the changing rooms, so in the men's changing room. So both of us stood there like butt naked, having a chat.
I'm wondering where this story's going now. I kind of, I'm tempted to move it on away, but I want to hear.
Oh,
this
don't!
story.
No. We've still got time to tell it. So we're standing there chatting, and I thought, Steve Bennett was his name. Is his name? He still works for Lloyd's to this day.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hello, Rupert. I was like, I've been trying to get hold of you. Like, how are you? You know, how's everything going? So we had a bit of a chat. Then we went our separate ways. I wasn't sort of too intrusive, but turns out that when I came downstairs, he'd left his car keys behind. So I managed to go downstairs with his car keys to try and give them to the reception, and he came back in and saw that I had his car keys. Steve, your car keys. He went, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. I went, don't worry, you owe me one. I'll give you a call next week.
Yeah.
And he answered the call
the
next week. So then we built a great relationship and placed a whole load of people with him. And I was probably like mid-20s at best at this time. So young, cocky.
Go to the gym.
Cocky person. Yeah, when I went to the gym. I don't go to the gym anymore. Probably should start. So did very well there, but then decided to go travelling for about 6 months, take a bit of a break after 4 years working in that business, and then
Where
came
were you travelling? Where did you go?
Oh, everywhere.
Yeah.
Where didn't I go?
Yeah.
It was like a round the world ticket
Brilliant.
that could just get off in most places. So had a great time going like New Zealand, South America, Central America, you name it. Pretty much went there. And then came back, and I had a job lined up with another company called Consortia, which was run by a person called Nathan Connolly, who I'd met at the company before, Ashton Consulting, and he ended up being best man at my wedding. So worked with him for about 4.5 years, building up their contract division, as it was. It was a relatively small division at the time. I think we got to about 7 heads tops. And was still a billing consultant, but managing a small team. But then just decided for some unknown reason that I wanted some ownership of a business, and they weren't in a position at the time to give me any ownership.
This? Whereabouts are we at?
So this would have been in 2017, 2016, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, 2016. So a little while ago, before sort of the world went a bit crazy. And so decided to go and set up RMG Digital with my brother-in-law Max Green, who is my co-founder.
Yeah, brilliant.
And that is the timeline.
Yeah.
That's probably more long-winded than I'd hoped.
No, but interesting little dog legs into the butt naked stories in the changing room. Just on that, like not on that actually, but when you talk about the kind of the S3 ingrained way of working. I hear this quite a lot. You know, there seems to be a big cohort of ex-S3 people that go on to set up very successful businesses, and they've gone elsewhere. What is or what was the kind of main difference, or main values and ethics that were being kind of taught from an S3 perspective versus everybody else that was out there?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the individual, perhaps, and how they perceive that. So the way that I perceived that in terms of the ethics that were drilled into me was almost a bit of like fear of loss, because it was quite cutthroat at the time, but not in a really horrible way. Now looking back at it, sometimes there were points where I was thinking, oh, I really hate it here. I don't want to be here. For when you're being told to stay and work a job at 9 o'clock at night for whatever reason. But that was what was drilled into you. It's like, you've got to do this. Otherwise, someone else will do it. You're replaceable. Like someone else will come along, and someone else wants this opportunity if you don't. So that's some of the things that I think were drilled into people within S3 as a general overview. There's this work ethic. go out and work hard. Like, we look at like the people around us that were in the business, and I think, you know, with the exception of a few, and this is not meaning to be unkind, but no one was like a PhD student or anything, right? Everyone was coming from some sort of background where they had some smarts about them, but they didn't really have other options.
Yeah.
They all wanted to make something of their lives for whatever reason, and that was really pushed upon in the role by the management staff and by the directors to say, you've told us you want to do all of these things. Here's an opportunity to go and do it. Go and do it. Or if you don't, someone else will come and do it for you instead, without you, and you'll be replaced. So that was what really drove me there. But there was also the internal competition. And when you were inside S3, I don't know if it's like this these days, but when I was there, it was certainly like there wasn't another recruitment company out there. Basically, it was S3, and that was it. Because you're constantly told about Progressive doing better than Computer Futures, or if you're in Computer Futures, it was like Computer Futures are number one, Progressive are number two. We're beating them. Like there was this constant battle of all of the different brands that they had. I think at the time there was about sort of 7 brands within the S3 group. And so as soon as I was made redundant, the world sort of was opened up to me, and I suddenly realised that there was this life outside of S3.
There are other recruiting
Oh my
companies?
God, there are other companies, and they're actually all right.
Yeah.
Whereas before, you were sort of kept in this little bubble, which was great for the business. And actually, it really taught you to go out and do things properly, build relationships. You were taught to like wing it a little bit as well, like the art of sales rather than hiding behind an email. I think when I was there, like even like LinkedIn, when it first came out, it was banned in the office because it was seen as a distraction to get you off the phone. It was all about get on the phone, speak to people, build relationships, get out the office, go and see them, network, and show them what we're better than everyone else. It's this belief that we are better than everyone else.
That culture is, you know, if you, I get very nostalgic about pretty much anything. We were talking about, you know, pubs and bars and stuff of years gone.
Purple Turtle.
Purple Turtle, still around.
Still there.
We were talking, for the benefit of our Talent Matters watchers and listeners, we were talking about Bar Oz. So those in Reading will know of Bar Oz.
Or those in Reading of a certain age will know of
a certain
Bar Oz.
age, yes, certain age. But what was I saying? So, you know, the culture that S3 had created there was hugely powerful, and you know the drive. And I'm not saying that they are, you know, the be all and end all. You know, I never worked within that, so I don't know. But from what I hear, I don't know if I'm being nostalgic or not. But the culture, the competition, the drive, the ethic that was created there, I don't know if that is, or if that's being replicable now and today. But that's quite it's quite a high competitive market that you're in, and you know, like everyone's saying, you can earn this, and you can earn this, and if you don't, then you're out and you're gone. It's very cutthroat. Yeah. And some people fall by the wayside, but others will do very well from that. That's a hell of a culture that they created.
Yeah, they did very, very well. Very, very well indeed. And I think there are some businesses that have managed to replicate that relatively successfully in this current day. I'm not in those businesses. I've never been into those businesses, but from the people that I've met in terms of some of the owners and, you know, knowing them and, you know, looking at what I see in terms of the stuff that you see on social media, which you've got to be careful with because it's not always the real... So, you know, the full truth, right? We see on socials.
Everything on social media is not real?
I know. Unbelievable.
What?
Shock. Breaking news. But I think there are some companies that are doing things in a similar fashion. But there are also things that would have been happening, you know, back then in the, you know, the early 2000s that have changed for the better. Yeah. Like there's things that, you know, you shouldn't have to go to the toilets and have a shave because you've not had a shave in the day. I haven't had a shave today. Yeah. Today, I'm able to grow a bit more stubble than I was back then. But you were told, you know, go in and shave if you've not had a shave. You've got the tiniest little bit of fluff.
Yeah.
You're using this communal razor. Right? Brutal.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a hot day, you can take your tie off,
Yeah.
but jacket stays on.
Yeah.
Like that sort of stuff. Stand up out of your chair. Like, I get it. I get all of the like the power hour, like stand up, and when you made a sales call, sit down, and that was great for then. I don't think that stuff doesn't really work now.
does it?
No,
Yeah.
For me it doesn't. I'm sure there'll be a few people out there that will say, yeah, that stuff can still work, but I don't think it's really fit for modern day society where you want to treat people not necessarily as equals as such, because I don't think that's correct to say that everyone is equal in a business. However, they want to be treated fairly and as humans.
Yeah. I think, that you hear a lot about, millennials and Gen Ys and all this sort of stuff, and I'm not getting into a conversation about that, but I think, from being a Gen X, I think some of the kind of the traits of a Gen X, which would have been that sort of time, is very much kind of knuckle down, hard work, don't ask too many questions, don't, just get on with it. Whereas, the kind of the generations kind of since then, they operate in a different way, don't they? So I don't think you could just replicate a lot of that stuff. But how did you take what you learned from there? Then let's kind of come forward to 2025. But what have you taken from your time at S3 and the various different other places you work and have put into RMG now, and what things have you left behind? Presumably you don't have a communal razor.
No, there's no communal razor. We've left that one firmly behind.
That can stay in the past.
That can definitely stay in the past. So we've tried to keep some of the work ethic, right? To keep people so that they're driven and motivated. I genuinely believe that people should come to work.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that you need to work all hours under the sun doing your job. There's different things that people can be doing, like whether that's with family, whether it's a side hustle, other things they might want to do outside of their job ultimately. And I think that's changed. And that's one of the things that we've brought into our business and saying, okay, well, if people have got things outside of work they want to do, go and do them. We're here to enable. Mm-hmm. So if that's enabling someone to go to the gym to work out because they love going to the gym, don't know why, but they might do.
Looking for their next contract.
Looking for the next contract with Lloyds Bank. But to just give them whatever it is they want. So I believe that most of the job can be done within sort of working hours, and we'd like to be in a position, certainly at RMG, where we're able to work purely on outputs. We're not there. And I think there's still a challenge just generally with society to get away from working hours and paying for time.
Yeah.
And especially if you think about contracting as a prime example of that, you pay on a daily or hourly rate most of the time, unless it's a fixed project, in which case then you're just based on outcomes, which is great. But I think most of the world and society is still basing everything on time.
Yeah.
So if you're doing that, then getting people to do the best job that they can in the time frame, for me, is like the optimal way of working.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've tried to really instill in people, that like stay until the job's done, but try and get the job done in a shorter time frame as possible.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah. So
keeping that work ethic and drive going, and that's probably for me the biggest thing that we've taken from like the people that I've worked with before in terms of the companies. Some of the things that I've taken have been from not necessarily the companies, but the managers, and I think that's a big thing to talk
from
about.
People rather than
it's the people. It's not the companies.
Yeah.
And that's what make up those businesses and how they are and how they operate. It's the people in them and the people leading them. And that, again, going back to S3, that was one of the great things at that time. You look at some of the people that were there in those businesses at that time, and the time before I was there as well. There's some great people who went on to do some really amazing things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's not some great people in those businesses now, because that S3 has gone on to become a huge corporate business, but it changed when it floated on the stock market. So looking at what those people have done for me and how they've helped shape me and my attitudes towards things, trying to bring that into our business to try and help shape other people and help them ultimately.
I think that the word enabler, I think that's pretty that's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And trying to moving from sit there and do your job, because if you don't, someone else will do it, is isn't going to work. Whereas if you're saying, look, this is kind of what you want to do, we want to try and enable you to do the best job that you can do in that period of time to achieve this result, I think is really valid, and I think it's more aligned in terms of where we're kind of headed.
Yeah, absolutely. And empowering people to do the job that they're there to do. It's been a difficult thing for me to do as someone who was a biller, hands-on, to let go of some of that control. I'm probably a bit of a control freak if you ask most people, and to say to people, actually, you're here to do a job. I've employed you because I trust you to do the job. I'm going to trust you to do the job. Whereas sometimes it's easier, isn't it, to go, I'll just do that because I know how to do it. And it'll take me 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas you've got to take the time, and I've got this wrong so many times, but you've got to take the time to give people time to learn how to do it, and you've got to teach them.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've got a lot better at over the last sort of 3 or 4 years as a business, and I feel that I've got a lot better at. I still have got a long way to go to be perfect. I'm not a trainer by any stretch of the imagination, but I am getting better at leading people and showing them how to do things, but also letting them fail as well, and going, do you know what? No one died. Like, if the worst thing that happens is that we lose a client and customer, then that's the worst thing that happens. It's not gonna kill us, I don't think. So allowing people to go and make some mistakes and hopefully learn from those mistakes.
That's the thing, isn't it? You want to see some progression in terms of learning from, because if they keep losing a client, I mean, we got to stop this.
you can cock something up like once, maybe twice, but if you're doing it over and over again, it's like Einstein's definition of madness, isn't it? It's like doing the same thing and expecting a different result or different outcome. Like, what are you doing? Like, there's obviously something missing there. Like, you've got to sort of think about things, and that's where I think recruitment has changed over the last 15, 20 years. It's gone from being just blindly picking up the phone, have a conversation with someone, try and spark something, which you still need to do, that picking up the phone, having a conversation, try and spark something, but it's less blind, cold calling. It should be more strategic, looking at who you want to speak to, why are you speaking to them, what problems are you solving for them. And that's the things that have changed in terms of the dynamics of like recruitment and sales over the last 15, 20 years.
I just want to pick up on something you said before. A lot of business owners that I talk to or know or whatever have the control freak problem. And I probably have a bit myself as well. What are the main things that you recognise you're a bit of a control freak on, and for the benefit of other people that are watching, listening, going, actually, that's me, I'm a bit of a control freak too, or have been. What are the things that you still are a control freak on or have been?
The things that I'm a control freak on now are probably different to the things that I was a control freak on before.
Both will do.
Now I'm a control freak on the finances.
Like
the money coming in, the money going out. I'm really hot on that because that's the lifeblood of the business, right? That's what we're there for. We're there for the money.
That's a pretty good thing to be a freak on.
But I sometimes drill down into it too much, but I don't have a problem with it. As you say, I don't think it's a bad thing for me to be on top of our finances, to make sure that there's enough money coming into the business and not too much money going out of the business, so that people have jobs. We've always come into our business to set it up and say we want to be a sustainable business. And I'm not talking about sustainable as in we're going out and we're planting trees. Obviously, that's a good thing to do, but that's not what I mean. It's more about building careers and futures for people in a business that is going to stand the test of time.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this big behemoth business. In fact, I don't think it ever will be like a 200-person business. That's not what we're aiming for.
Yeah.
So back to your question, sort of finances is something that I've remained sort of fairly hot on. I generally have an overview of our like contractor book. I still like to keep my eye into that.
Yeah.
I was probably more of a control freak on some of the conversations that were happening. I wanted to be involved.
Yeah.
So if there was a new client that was being onboarded and there was a meeting that was happening, sometimes unnecessarily I'd just invite myself along to a meeting. Yeah, I'd just be there. Yeah. And now I still go to some meetings because there are some conversations whereby actually it benefits the business to have me there because I'm more knowledgeable about the subject matter, or I've worked with a client that's similar, or I know whatever it might be. But I'm less involved in those meetings now. I let other people get on with it, and I get involved in a stage whereby they go, we might need some help on this.
Yeah.
Can you come along, or actually can you go and run this meeting for us because we think you can do it for XYZ reason. And some of the delivery stuff as well, having more of an overview of like every CV that went out the door to a client, because it's our reputation. So my view was that actually I want to see what's the product that's going out the door. What are our customers getting?
Yeah.
I don't need to do that anymore. Yeah. I had it this morning where one of our consultants said, "Do you want to see this CV?" No, just send it. I trust you.
Yeah.
You're a senior consultant. You've been with us for like 3 years. I don't need to see CVs from you. Right. Sometimes if you really want me to look at it and you want my opinion, sure. But I don't need to. I trust you.
Yeah.
So
how and I'm asking these questions because I share these same kind of traits at times where you're like you want to be involved in a conversation, and I know other business owners have this same thing as well, and I think it's quite a challenge, and I brought it up because you mentioned about being a biller to then kind of moving on from that, and I think it's difficult when you're revenue generating, even outside of recruitment, you're a revenue generating person, to then stop being a revenue generating person. That's a big switch to then trust other people to generate revenue without your input. That's quite a hard step to take back. And for me, having kind of been involved in that as well, I almost feel like I'm doing the company a disservice. I'm losing the company money because I'm now not generating revenue. Yeah. So then I go, well, I'll just invite myself to that meeting. Yeah. I'll just add value to that.
But also, you're used to seeing like your name up in lights a little bit and seeing this number that's associated to you, and that gives a certain endorphin hit or dopamine hit, whatever it might be, to say, oh, well done me.
Yeah.
I've built this much. But actually that's detrimental to the business in the long run. And I also still get this feeling of, as I've stepped back from the day-to-day of doing the do, and I still get on the phone and occasionally do a bit of cold calling to reach out to new customers, but mostly it's speaking to old customers or introducing myself to current customers, etc. But you feel, like, am I adding value? You feel a bit of a fraud. Like, what am I doing? Like, what's my job? What's my purpose?
Yeah.
When you're making that switch, and I've now found my purpose in terms of what I should be doing as one of the business leaders, one of the directors of the business. We don't have like titles like CEO or anything like that, but I'm there to go and ultimately work with the team to make them better, and in any way, shape or form help them and help the business grow.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different facets to that, but it's a difficult bridge to cross to try and get in the mindset of feeling really useful by adding bottom line, but that's directly correlated to the work that you're doing. So you're putting in your inputs and then you're getting the outputs, which is made this placement, invoice this client.
Yeah.
To not doing that, to going, okay, how am I adding value?
Yeah.
So you're right. It is a really tricky balance to get. And I think that's where business owners, if you're in a small business, like we're 10 people at the moment, to get into that mindset of taking a step back. You don't have to be taking a complete step back, but taking a bit of a step back so you can work on growing the business, if that's what you want to do, of course. Because, and especially if you want to sell that business at some point, no one's going to sell that business if it's you making all the placements.
Yeah.
Because any potential acquirer will look at it and go, well, it's just you. There's no business here.
Yeah.
You don't have a business.
Yeah.
You're just...
And then you become tied to whatever it is you have to sell anyway.
Yeah,
right?
you might as well just be a one-person business or two-person business doing it that way, and you'll make a hell of a lot more money than just employing some people for some fun, to have some employees for what, vanity?
Yeah.
Like we saw how that went over the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, and that's interesting as well, isn't it? Because one of the metrics of success for recruitment businesses has been in the past, how many people do you employ?
I think for a lot of businesses, you go around to a dinner party and one of the first questions I get asked is, oh, how many employees do you have?
Yeah.
Does it matter?
And because you could be making hundreds of millions of pounds a year and have 2 employees, or you could be making hundreds of thousands of pounds of a loss, or millions of loss, and have 100 employees.
Which is a better company? You tell
exactly,
me.
Yeah. But I still feel as though that's still quite a metric of success, right? Because people still ask you, and then if you say, I mean, maybe you conduct your own social experiment, but one day you'll say, well, I have 50 people, and then you say, I have 10 people, and you watch the reaction between the different.
It's interesting.
And I bet there'll be, if you say 50, they'll, oh, wow, that sounds great. And if they say 10, they'll go, well, okay. Yeah. And so they'll still be more, impressed. The fact that you haven't made a single quid of profit with 50 people.
But no one goes and asks, I suppose,
how much
profit do you make? Yeah. So there's maybe that's why the metric is
per person.
Yeah. Can you tell me your EBITDA, please? So it's not the normal questions that we're going to ask people, unless we're talking in a business sense, right?
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see businesses sort of changing their scope, especially with obviously AI. We can't get away from it, but people doing more with less. And this has always been our mantra at RMG, doing more with less. When Max and I set up the business, we said, let's do more with less. Let's not go out and have like 200 people in a business, because it seems like a complete vanity metric.
Yeah.
So let's go and try and make people more profitable per head.
Yeah.
So that the business benefits from it.
Yeah.
And keep our cost per desk down.
Yeah.
Rather than having loads and loads of people. Whereas I've seen it in some businesses where you've got people who are just there, and most of I think what the rule of thumb is, 20% of your people making 80% of your money, right? So what's the point in the other 80%? And I'm not saying everyone should get rid of like 80% of their workforce by any stretch of the imagination, but you've got to look at that and go, well, okay, well, if we just really focus on a smaller subsection of people, we can do more with less, especially with all the tools that we have these days.
Yeah.
And you can outsource bits and pieces as well, so that could be much more cost effective than bringing people in-house. You can make more revenue. And that's what most people are in it for. And,
you look at a lot of the reports that come again, looking at where we are in the economy today, you continually see profit warnings and, reduced revenue from those bigger organizations, those bigger recruitment companies. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if the age of the large recruitment business is, I don't want to say anything's dead or anything.
Yeah.
Because everyone says it's dead. But, if it makes more commercial sense these days to run a niche business or a smaller business rather than trying to grow a 300-400 person recruitment business.
Yeah, I think, look, I've never run a 300 or 400 person recruitment business, so I can't make a comparison that's fair. And I'm sure if you went and spoke to James Reed, he'd disagree. He'd be like, no, give me my however many thousands of people he has in his business. But I think that we will see more boutique agencies sort of springing up. And that's what's been going on for the last 10, 15 years anyway, is you've seen some of the bigger agencies, as people have, talked about S3 earlier, people have gone from those businesses, they go, actually, there's life outside of this. I could go and do this for myself. I'm slightly entrepreneurial. I want to go and experience something else. And they go and work they build their smaller agency, and then they grow their company to, maybe 10 people if they're lucky on the most part. I think most recruiters in the UK are between 1 and 2 people is the large sort of volume of the 40,000 odd recruitment companies that we have.
No one ever seems to have a right number of that. Sometimes it's 20,000, sometimes it's 40,000.
I think it depends on which AI platform you ask. So I think there's not necessarily, as you say, it's not going to be the death of this, but I think that we will see smaller agencies staying smaller, people not going into it with this mindset of growth. And I think we're seeing this across the board with all businesses, by the way, not just recruitment as a sector, whereby it's not growth, it's just you can have a 10-person business, you can be super profitable. You can be a 17-year-old and working in your bedroom and making $1 million a year, right? Yeah. As a YouTuber. So they've shown us that there's a different way to do it. But there will be some businesses that will need lots of people in them to do lots of different things, and it is economies of scale. We still need people to do some of the jobs that the machines can't do at the moment. So therefore, if I want to grow, I need to employ more people.
There's there's benefit, I think, also in every time you employ someone, your costs increase dramatically.
Oh yeah, it's the biggest cost without a doubt.
And then you need people to look after the people, so you're doubling your costs at some point. A slight subject change, just quickly, because we talked about when we first started talking. You've got your own podcast.
I do, yeah.
So, firstly, how is it being on the other side? Secondly, how am I doing? And do you want to talk about your
podcast? Dangerous.
Yeah. We can edit out.
Yeah. No, you're doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's actually quite good being on the other side. I'm not having to think about any of the questions that I'm going to ask or worry about anything. I'm just having a chat, which is great. And yes, I have a podcast called Fireside with Founders and Leaders. Started it in 2020 as a lockdown project, basically when I was wondering if I would have a business at all. Just as weird. So Max and I had moved into a nice, shiny new office, just for a 4-person office. We'd taken it from, actually was a 4-person office, but it was out in the sticks, just near where we live. Moved in something that was a bit more expensive and ready to recruit. And then suddenly COVID hit when I think I was out skiing, and I came back, had 3 days in the office, and then we went into lockdown.
It's basically what happened to us.
Yeah. So I was like, I'll start a podcast. That'll be fun. And it's grown and evolved from there. I talk to basically people in the tech sector, mostly founders and leaders, as you can probably guess. Very similar format to you, and we use it and the thing that people might be interested in from a recruitment perspective. So we use it now to fuel positive PR and messaging within our business, because most of the time people as prospects for either being like candidates or potential clients, they don't want to talk about recruitment that much if they're not recruiting. So we've got to think of other things that we can engage them with. One of them is the podcast. So we use it as a bit of a business development tool that's all round. So business development to attract candidates, but also business development to attract potential clients. And it's worked pretty well. We're still honing things with it to try and make sure we're reaching the right audience. But so far I've had some really cool guests on there. I've learned a hell of a lot from speaking to other people. I don't know about you. I'm sure you come on and speak to people, not necessarily me, but you learn things from other people.
It is, I think, probably the biggest thing that I get out of this is having the ability to speak to recruitment business owners and find out about the different markets, everything that's going on. It's a really, really good way of understanding what's going on in the market. For us, we need to try and respond to what recruiters and recruitment businesses want. And there's only so much information you can get out of people when you're just talking to them. But sitting down and talking to people, it's quite good.
Pretty
fun.
useful.
I mean,
yeah, it's good fun.
We probably wouldn't do it if it
It's
wasn't.
It's not really work, is it?
No, I mean that's the other thing.
Yeah.
It classifies as work, and it stops me from trying to be a control freak and actually get on and try and sell something or whatever.
Yeah.
So no, it's good. So well, I presume the powers that be will promote your podcast.
By all means, feel free to. If anyone wants to give it a listen.
When they do like podcasts and things, they always say hit link, hit the link below and hit subscribe and whatever it is, and the link below, and they managed to put it there. So let's see if we can do that. Put the link there.
Yeah.
We're gonna edit this.
Bit experiment. Yeah. It's never making it in.
He's not gonna make it in. So okay. What's happening in the market right now? It's pretty recognisable, and easy to say. It's tough at the minute. The market has, the economy is all over the place with everything that's going on around in the world. But what's happening with you guys at the moment, and then we'll talk about what we think will happen. We'll have a kind of prediction.
I'll put my finger in the air and give it a go. So, I mean, at the moment, I think we can start to move away from the it's tough rhetoric that's been going around, because and I'm not ignoring the fact that it is more challenging than it has been in like previous times, but everything's cyclical. Like from being in business for close to 20 years now, I understand that things go in cycles. There's downturns, then there's upticks. We're in a bit of a downturn, but it's starting to feel like it's coming towards an uptick. Whether it will go down again before it goes up, who knows? But things seem to be easing up. There's certainly in the UK, we're seeing people spending more money and just getting on and doing things. We're seeing more demand for contract resource as opposed to permanent headcount. There is demand for permanent headcount. Where we're finding it a challenge is that there's plenty of talent out there. So if you're a 200, 500 person business plus, and you've got an internal talent team, why do you need to use a recruiter other than the fact that you're looking for something very, very specific? So in their minds, they go, we don't need to use a recruiter because we've got someone we're paying on the payroll who can put out a job advert on LinkedIn. Slightly lazy recruitment, by the way, but they can put out a job advert on LinkedIn and get a load of responses, probably find someone who's a good enough fit for that role. Now, I'm going to say things like they're not getting an entire market view, which of course they're not. They're not getting people who are part of the passive market. Of course they're not. And they're only getting the people that are applying to the job, which they are. Point, exactly. So there is benefits to using an agency beyond that point I just made. However, they just don't want to spend money. We're seeing people having trouble making a decision. That's the biggest challenge, certainly, that we're seeing across the board at the moment, is people just not making decisions and not making them quickly when they are making them. So something that used to take 2 weeks is now taking 6 weeks to get through a process. So that's a bit of a challenge, but the good news is there is business out there. And especially for businesses the same size or similar size to us, I don't think that the market can have that much of an effect. If you're a Reed or a Hayes, Robert Half, the market's going to have a big effect on you because you've got a huge amount of people, as we were talking about earlier. But if you've got 10 people in your business, right, you should be able to go and find enough clients and customers.
It doesn't take much to turn the too many placements to kind of cover costs
Yeah.
and make a profit, right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
You really don't need it. And provided you're keeping an eye on your finances and you're not using every single tool under the sun because you've got recruitment magpie syndrome, like, you'll be okay. You can keep your cost per desk down, but also make decent profit by not having to do that much. So that's when you get to the good times, and then you make really good profits because you're in the good times.
Yeah, yeah. You've run a lean ship.
Yeah.
Do you think there's an element of, you said the it's tough rhetoric. Do you think there's an element of labouring that a bit too much? Some people are hiding behind that a bit too much, or they've struggled to adapt from the heyday of post-COVID where it went kind of nuts. Do you think we're kind of struggling to adapt to how it is, how it's always been?
Well, yeah, it's a really interesting one because, so one of my viewpoints is that recruitment is generally like a bit of a young person's sport. So there's a few sort of old timers, and I'm probably now starting to fall into the old timer category, whether I like it or not, who have seen different markets. And you've got a lot of people, and we've got some great people that work with us, but they haven't seen anything but the good times on the most part, apart from some of the people that we've recently employed. They've only seen now, so they only know now.
Yeah.
But you only know what you know.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, I'll say there's a lot of, that's probably the wrong word. There are some business owners out there who will hide behind the fact, as you say, that things have been tough and it's easier to blame the market and just go, well, it's the market, it's nothing that we're doing, or it's not the fact that we haven't trained our people properly, or it's not the fact that we haven't given them enough motivation to go out and achieve things that they want to achieve. So yes, there is a sense of that, but I think overall, it's probably just an easy excuse. It's like all businesses. There's always something. There's always a reason for them not to be hiring. If you think about it the other way around, as a recruiter going out to businesses, you speak to 100 companies, and probably 99 of them will have an excuse as to why they're not hiring at the moment. A lot of it's a smokescreen.
Yeah.
Tariffs. There's COVID. There's this. There's that. There's always something. Why not? So it's trying to find a way as to, okay, well, why and what improvements could be made if you do. The same for like doing more business. It's going, okay, well, looking at your business overall and saying, okay, what improvements could we make internally so that we can go and make an extra 1, 2, 3 placements a month. And that will put us back into a position of great profits where everyone gets great commission, everyone gets great bonuses, everyone wins. And I think that's, for me, part of the problem of it's easier to make an excuse of the market rather than look internally and go, what are we doing that we could be doing better?
Yeah. And the if you're UK based or if you're global based, however it is, work still needs to be done. There's still jobs that need to be filled, and things are going around. You mentioned something earlier about the internal recruitment business functions of clients. That's come up a couple of times before. A lot of businesses in the last sort of 10, 15 years seem to have created their own talent acquisition functions, whereas before you didn't really have that. Does that have much of an impact on you and the way you do things? I guess the podcast is one of the things that you've adjusted, but how much of a real impact does that have on you and the wider industry, in your opinion?
Yeah, so it definitely has an impact on the wider industry and has had an impact on us. We've got to evolve in some shape or form. Now, recruitment's not going to change completely, but you've got to evolve from being a shortlist creator, a CV sifter, someone who just provides with people. Right? It's very transactional in that way. We always talk about moving away from transactional recruitment. And that's the bigger question is like, how on earth do you do that? And we're by no means there. We have not moved away from that. We've lost some clients because we've been transactional with them. We've provided them with a service, which is a good service still, of providing them with good profiles who they've employed or taken on as contractors and consultants. But and And this is why they brought in talent teams, because they just go, well, I could pay someone £50,000 a year. If I'm spending 200 grand a year on recruitment agencies, can I pay someone £50,000 a year? And then that cuts my costs by quite a significant amount.
Yeah.
Now, not always as simple as that, because sometimes, just a bit like when you're working with a recruitment agency, you work with one agency, you get a completely different experience to working with another agency, because it's the people that are there it's whether you're working with a good recruitment consultant or a not so good recruitment consultant. Same with an internal talent partner. Some of them are brilliant, some of them are not so brilliant.
Yeah.
So we have partnered with some talent partners, and we've made a real success of it, where we've had some really good relationships where we've helped them to do a better job for them. We've worked out what are their metrics, what are they working towards, a bit like you'd do if you're working with a hiring manager. What are you working towards? How can I help you?
Yeah.
So how can I help you as a talent person? And then we've gone and helped them, provided them with a service. And that's beyond just providing them with CVs. It could be providing them with market insight, doing a bit of talent mapping for them.
Yeah.
All these sorts of other things, these other little bolt-on bells and whistles that can add value. So I think when I say moving away from transactional recruitment, it's becoming more of a strategic partner with the companies that we work with. As I say, we're not there yet where every single company is in this same sort of mode. There are some that are still, unfortunately, very transactional, and that's okay for the moment because they still pay us money and it works.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see less of that, because this is the stuff that AI can do. Right? It can sift through, and it'll get better and it'll get better at sifting through CVs and working out profiles and doing all of this stuff. So you need to go in with the mindset of, how can I help this potential customer grow in some way, shape or form, or how can I help them do whatever it is they need to do?
Yeah. Do you think that from a going into the future, do you think that's the main thing of moving transactional into a strategic partner? Would that be, when we look into the future of recruitment, we sort of talked about, not really the future, but niche businesses. But do you think that's how it's going to evolve, where you'll have a niche business that is a strategic recruiting partner rather than just someone that's going to get me 3 CVs?
Yeah, I think so. A bit more consultancy focused, and there will still be a place for the just get me 3 CVs, because some people just want a different service.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about, we're dealing with people, not cardboard boxes, and different people want different things. Some companies just love the transactional piece where they go, I just need profiles from you. And especially if you're talking about like volume recruitment, like sometimes I've never done that actually, so I probably shouldn't comment on that. Yeah. But my perception is that maybe you just want CVs coming through. But I still think there's probably a place to be more strategic as a partner to help people find the best people. Yeah. So yeah, yes, in essence, I see it moving that way. But I still think there's going to be a place for, like, the contingent recruiter will still be out there. We've been talking about the death of the contingent recruiter for the last, probably since I started.
Yeah. Everything's demand led, isn't it?
Yeah.
If there are people that say, I want 3 CVs or I want something like that, then there's going to be someone that's going to provide that service.
That will be, exactly.
If we can kind of move, I think you mentioned AI. I haven't really talked much about AI, and probably
that's a good thing.
Run out of time, but I guess it's that evolution is about adding the value that necessarily can't just be plugged into a piece of AI that's going to churn someone out.
Exactly. And still focusing on the relationships, because it's a people business. It's the relationships that you build. The reason that I've had success, I would attribute that to the people that I've built relationships with. Yeah. So it's them that have helped me to gain some success, because I've gone and proactively tried to build relationships with these people, and I've helped them in some way, shape or form. So they've in return helped me by either giving me business or recommending me to someone else, or those sorts of things. So you're still going to have that element of relationships, and that's never going to go.
Yeah. So your recommendation would be get down the gym.
Yeah.
Find your clients down the gym.
Yeah, get down your gym. Yeah, make sure you're not clothed. You'll be all right.
It's a surefire winner.
Yeah.
Rupert, that's been brilliant. I hope it's been okay.
It's been great. Thank you.
From your side, but that's been great. I feel like we've been on a journey from the days of Bar Oz all the way through to 2025 and beyond. So thank you very much for coming on. Good stuff.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant.